Hey, it's Andrew Beck here at BTO Range in Conroe, Texas, in the majestic YouTube studio that we have here over at our Big Tex Ordnance facility. And today on the bench is a nice little target pistol, one of the best target pistols ever made in the United States, in my opinion, for what that's worth. That's a Smith & Wesson Model 41, a little 22 rimfire target pistol, and again, for my money, it's probably the top one that's ever been produced. And I know there's going to be people say, "Oh, what about the Colt Woodsman match target? And what about the high standard 10X or the Supermatic Citation?" And all very valid points. But for me, I'm a big Smith & Wesson guy from way back, and I'm always going to gravitate toward the Smith & Wesson product. So anyway, the Model 41. The Model 41 was introduced to the public for commercial sale in 1957, and that's the same year that Smith & Wesson changed or began adopting, officially adopted model numbers for their product line. So guns that prior to 57 had names now had model numbers. For example, the Highway Patrolman revolver became the Model 28. The Outdoorsman became the Model 14 and 38 caliber. I mean, there were all different named models, which was really cool, but then they became model numbers in 57. So this gun originated or was introduced to the public at that same time. So there are no pre-41s that were sold commercially. Now, having said that, guns existed before 1957. The gun actually began in development by Smith & Wesson 10 years earlier, 1947. And they literally spent 10 years getting it right. There were several tool room guns made, prototype guns, if you will, and they would take them as Smith & Wesson, Carl Hickstrom, the president, and other members of the Smith & Wesson team would take them to major shooting events like Camp Perry and get input from shooters, actual shooters, whether they were target shooters, outdoorsmen, casual shooters, whatever target audience might be wanting a 22 target pistol. They sought feedback from them on how to make the product better. And over the course of 10 years, they got it right and introduced the Model 41 to the shooting public in 1957. And the gun's still in the catalog today. You can buy brand new guns, Model 41, put out by the Smith & Wesson Performance Center. And the good thing is very little's changed in the design. There have been some cosmetic changes. There have been some barrel length changes. There have been some changes in the rear sight that's used on these guns over the course of that time. But we're talking, what, 67 years? Yeah, 67, coming up on 68 years of production of this gun. And not a whole lot has changed internally. There has been a ton of engineering changes. I mean, they've changed the magazine body, they've changed the magazine follower, they've changed, a couple of small things like that, but the overall design of the guns remains. So in 1957, we see the gun. It was introduced with a 7 3/8 inch barrel that had a muzzle brake on it. And shortly thereafter, in 58, they offered a false muzzle so people that did not want the muzzle brake could take that muzzle brake off and attach the false muzzle and not have to deal with the rest of that muzzle brake. But going back to before the commercial introduction of those tool room guns, they're known ranges. And sometimes they surface, but the guns are pretty well known and they have a specific serial number range. The tool room guns for Smith & Wesson typically have a letter T, T as in Tango, serial number prefix. So it'd be 101001 through T1025. Those tool room guns, when they surface, extremely rare. If they're proven to be the right gun, it's pretty easy to prove them up. Then we're talking $3 grand at least on those guns when they show up. And there were some other prototype guns or two-room guns after that range, T1026 through T1034, which were chambered in 22 short. This is 41 is a long rifle, but those prototype guns were chambered 22 short, and they would eventually become the model 41-1. We'll get to him in just a second. So those two-room guns are extremely rare. I doubt they're ever going to surface for sale. I would be surprised. Someone, I'm not even sure where they are, if they're in private collector hands or where they are. But anyway, those would be super rare, those guns, if they show up. So one of the big engineering changes that did occur on this gun and does make a difference in the value of the pistols when you find them is the presence of a cocking indicator. And we've got a still photo we'll put up of what the cocking indicator looks like. This is a later gun. It does not have the cocking indicator. It would be right there if it had one. It was a little pin that protruded from the rear of the back of the frame when the pistol was cocked. So that was part of the design from the beginning through 1978. That was dropped in 78. So when you hear somebody refer to a cocking indicator gun when they refer to a Model 41, that just means an earlier gun before 78. And it does add some to the value. It makes it more of a collectible gun. And generally, on the 41, the earlier the gun, the more collectible it is. And we'll talk about serial number ranges here in just a second. But also, in relatively early on in the process, they moved the production of this gun out of Springfield, Massachusetts, and they moved it to Maine. Smith & Wesson has had a facility in Maine since 1966, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Houlton, and I'm probably going to butcher it. I would pronounce it Holton, but that's probably wrong. If you live in Maine, forgive me, eat a lobster roll, you'll be fine. And they still exist. That facility still exists, primarily making handcuffs and doing some machining for Smith & Wesson. And that was a big deal not long ago when Smith & Wesson recently moved out of Massachusetts and moved to Tennessee. It didn't affect that plant in Maine at all. Nobody had to move, nobody had to relocate. They didn't close the facility. That facility is still there. So, and the Springfield, Massachusetts location is still there. They're just not making any semi-automatic. They're just making revolvers, things like that in that facility. Everything else moved to Tennessee. So, Maryville, Tennessee, is that right? Bretta's in Gallatin. I think Smith & Wesson's in Maryville. So anyway, some other little minor changes occurred in 1958. These relief cuts. Let's clear this gun real quick because I'm about to put hands on it. So. So these relief cuts here, it's almost like a 1911 A1 relief cut. Those show up in 1958. So a very early gun would not have those relief cuts. It would be straight, like a 1911, the 1911 versus 1911 A1 style change done there in 1958. So some barrel lengths, other barrel lengths were introduced. 1959, we see a 5-inch lightweight barrel, aluminum slide. And they were doing that for the sportsmen. They wanted to get a high-quality targeted grade pistol out in the hands of sportsmen out in the field. So they did the 5-inch gun in the lightweight. And in 1960 is when we see the 22 short gun. The 22 short came about for international target pistol use, chambering the 22 short. And originally it was just the 41, but it became the 41-1 very shortly after introduction. And that stayed in line until 1973. So we see that from 60 to 73, but less than 1,000 of them were made. So it was a very low-run production gun. And it's one that brings quite a bit of money on the collector market now if you should get a hold of one. So in 1963, We see that 5-inch lightweight start to fade out. They introduced the 5.5-inch heavy barrel, and in '65 they did that 5.5-inch heavy barrel, but with a sight that extended. The sight extended forward of the muzzle, or it could be extended forward of the muzzle, to give you the full sight radius of the 7 3/8-inch barrel, but with the less weight of the shorter gun. So those guns bring a premium to the extendable sight guns. All of those guns are shorter run, smaller production than the standard 7-inch barrel, 7 3/8-inch barrel gun. So those guns tend to bring a little bit more money on the collector market. So in 1970, we see the adoption of the A prefix in the serial number. A alpha prefix occurs beginning in 1970. And then in 1984, along with most other product of Smith & Wesson, we see the dreaded triple alpha serial numbers, where there's 3 alpha characters in the serial number followed by a string of digits. And that's when serialization charts kind of go away, because it's super difficult to, from serialization charts, to come up with a date or year of manufacture for those triple alpha guns. It's just, you could call Smith & Wesson and they could probably do that for you, or you could certainly write to the historian of Smith & Wesson, probably a fee for that. Or you can, there's enough interest out there now that if you research it hard enough through the internet, you'll find people that have known born-on dates for their triple alpha gun because they bought it new, and they know when they bought it, or that it had a fired cartridge case from Massachusetts in there for whatever reason. So it's getting to where you can pretty much narrow it down. For example, the triple alphas in this gun started with Tango Alpha Alpha, where the beginning serial number range in 1984, and Smith & Wesson did not, and Smith & Wesson famously did not do things in alphabetical or numerical order necessarily. There have been many, many examples of out-of-sequence serial number production for a special run or for a special customer to fill a contract, so on and so forth. There have been a number of those. So this particular gun is going to be mid-90s, and that's 95-ish, and that's probably the best way, as close as we're going to be able to date it without making a phone call to Smith & Wesson to try to figure it out. So there was another model of this gun, or a similar model, that was introduced in 1959, ran through 1968. It was a Model 46. Same basic gun without all the high polished blue, without all the aesthetic features, but it was the same basic gun. And that gun was designed, the story goes, that gun was designed to accommodate military shooting teams, Air Force shooting teams, Army marksmanship unit, things of that nature. And the 41 had been used by virtually all branches of the military for training purposes throughout its production run, and some of which are military marked and some aren't. So finding those, and they only made about 4,000 of the Model 46 throughout its production run. So it's relatively low money also. What do these things bring? Well, you got to bear in mind it's still a gun that's available new through the Smith & Wesson Performance Center. I think we probably have new examples in the case over at the store. And they are, a little over $1,000 new. And depending on, this is just a standard gun here. It's drilled and tapped, and this is a later gun. It's drilled and tapped on the top for a rib or an optical sight if you wanted to do that. But the earlier guns, cocking indicator guns, in this condition would bring that $1,000 pretty easily, $1,100 maybe more. And then if you get into military marked guns or the shorter barrel guns, the guns with extended sights, then the prices, it's so dependent upon condition, right? Originality, condition, and scarcity. So Scarcity on the 41 on the base gun, not so much. It's still a production gun. Originality, whether it's been reblued or not, and it'd be very obvious because the roll marks are not very deep on a 41. It would be difficult to polish and reblue it without messing things up. Now, if you find one that's nickel plated, they did make some nickel guns. They're super rare, very, very few, and that would almost require a factory letter to be considered real, in my opinion. There were so few made, so that would be one that's worth spending the money to get some type of provenance on that from the factory if you can. So basically these guns, a standard gun is going to live in that $700 to $900 range probably, depending on the condition, obviously, right? So the trigger pull on these things is fantastic. The sights are fantastic. Gosh, if you can't shoot a 41 well, you just probably can't shoot, is the way I've always looked at it. I've always preferred them to, and I've had all of them. I've had the match target first, second, and third series of the Colt. I've had the high standard Supermatic Citation, which is a fantastic gun. I've had the Ruger guns, the bull barrel Ruger guns. They're just a different, I mean, these guns are in a different class than the Ruger gun. The Ruger pistol to me has always been a sporting gun, a camp gun, rather than a serious target pistol. But Ruger aficionados, I'm not beating on the gun. It's a fine gun for what it is, but it's not a Model 41. Browning's tried to make some in the Buck Mark line, but they're still, compared to the 41, it's almost, we're all as good as a 41. So this has always been the gun that people compare themselves to with their products. So we'll take it apart real quick. We're not going to do a detail strip on this gun. I don't think we'll do a video on that, but we'll do just a real field strip gun, because Smith & Wesson did offer different barrels. You could buy a top end for this and change the barrel assemblies out. There was a 22 short conversion kit, and that's probably why the 41-1 went away, is because people weren't buying it. And Smith & Wesson developed a conversion kit to kind of use up the parts for the 41. Then there was a cleanup run later on, I think in the 70s, they made a cleanup run of the parts and got those out of the way. So in order to field strip the gun, you've got to clear it like it is now. Mags out, slides lock back. And then it's just simply a matter of pulling down, and sometimes these can be tight. Whoop. Once you pull that trigger guard down like that, the top end is now completely loose, right? And then you can remove the slide forward. I'm not going to do that here. I'd rather mention my tools to do that. So it reassembles in reverse order. So you can clean the breech face here pretty easily on this gun, and really don't recommend taking it down any further than that, and I really don't recommend taking this trigger out. So again, to my mind, one of the best target pistols ever made. So and again, Colt guys, not really throwing, I guess I am throwing sticks at the match target, but that's just my personal preference. So anyway, if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We try to post stuff out. I think I've got a pretty cool old shotgun coming up in the Stevens line with some interesting markings on it that we're going to do in the near future. So appreciate you watching as always, and we'll see you next time.